Praise the Lord, everybody. Wanted to get on here and share what the Lord has been speaking to me about. So I ask that you get your Bibles as we move into the word of the Lord. Now, the thing that God has been dealing with me regarding is this how the world in its normal state of existence is void, is empty. This voidness and this emptiness is a spiritual void, and it's a spiritual emptiness. This was not the initial design of God. God always wanted to dwell with his people, with his tangible presence, his presence of being perceived, being real, being felt, his reality being tangible. And his presence, he also names it as light. His presence it's revealed. His presence is seen. It can be touched. It can be felt. But sin caused his presence to go into a place of separation. See, God is everywhere at all times, but his presence his presence only dwells where light is revealed. When light is revealed, his glorious light, then his presence is revealed. See, in this world, when you're born into a place of spiritual emptiness. And the only way that I can describe this as is just you feel nothing. You feel nothing. Take, for instance, right now. If you're not feeling the presence of God, what do you feel? You feel nothing. You feel regular. It's an emptiness. And that void or that emptiness that's felt is the place where the enemy dwells. And where he dwells is at a place where if you can't see God and you can't perceive God in his tangible presence, I'm talking about tangible presence where you feel him, that where you know that he's there. Without his tangible presence, you are void. You're void from the reality of God being expressed to you in a real way. Therefore, you are in a place of emptiness, in a place that's void of your Creator. And when you are in a place that's void, the only thing that you can see is you. You can only see you. Notice where, see, God initially didn't create us to see us. In fact, Adam and Eve didn't even see themselves. They only saw themselves when they fell away from God, bit of the forbidden fruit, and they ran from God or hid themselves from God, because Adam said we hid ourselves because what? We were naked. He was able to see himself. Before then, they saw God. His presence permeated the atmosphere at all times in a extremely thick fashion. They didn't have to think about if God was real. His presence permeated his existence. They saw him. They walked with him. They talked with him. His presence was not only seen outwardly, but his presence engulfed them inwardly. Every facet of their being was engulfed by God's reality, his presence. But when they were stripped, or when they died spiritually, they are now void of his presence. This is why God asked Adam, Adam, where are you? Because God had infilled them. His presence permeated them in a thick, tangible way. But when they bit of the forbidden fruit, when they sinned, that was the separation. And now they see themselves. For Adam said, I hid myself because I was naked. He saw himself. See, the glory of God covered them so much so that they couldn't even see them. See, this is why the enemy wanted to create a world where he would rule a people that lived for self, pride, and all of the things that come out of this. Self, void of the presence of God, void of the reality of God. Because let me tell you something. God's presence is tangible. Tangible meaning it's real. It can be felt in thick degrees. Where Jesus told the woman at the well, I have water that you know not of, and that if you had this living water, you will thirst no more. In other words, his presence has the ability to permeate you so much so that you know the reality of your creator, and that you will be satisfied knowing without question or without a shadow of a doubt of who your creator and maker is, because you will have a real tangible relationship with him. His presence is real. But what the enemy wanted to do, he wanted to create a society, or he wanted to deceive a society and operate in a society where people would be void, empty, where they live only based upon self. Now let's go to Genesis chapter 1. Look what it says. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. And darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Now notice that now. The first day that he even acknowledged was when he created light. You see that? When he created light to divide itself from darkness, he acknowledged that as the first day. See, the first day wasn't even when the earth was in existence. Because look at verse 2. And the earth was it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void. See, that was the state, the initial state. But he didn't acknowledge that as being the first day. He didn't even acknowledge that as being a day of, he didn't even note that as being, calendared as a day. He only acknowledged existence and life when light hit. When the light was created, he saw that it was good. He divided the light from the darkness. And what did he say? He called the light day and called the darkness night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. He acknowledged existence when light appeared. That void state that he didn't even acknowledge. He didn't acknowledge the state of the earth being void because that state was a state of spiritual darkness, being void from the light of God. But that voidness, that darkness, that emptiness permeates the atmosphere today. See, this atmosphere in the world, this atmosphere is empty. It's void. It's empty and void. When you're born into the world, you're born empty and void. You don't know why you're here. You can't see God. You can't touch God. All you see is this world filled with people around you doing things in life. But the atmosphere is empty, is void. It's an atmosphere of nothing. But that void, empty atmosphere is where demons and Satan dwell. That's where he dwells at. See, God's presence is tangible. See, even when the first miracle that Jesus did was when he turned water into wine. And there's so much in that, but I'm just going to deal with this facet of it. Water into wine. Now, not trying to liken the presence of God as to being intoxicated as far as like wine. But it is a factor of understanding that his presence, wine, when you drink alcohol, to those of us that have done that before, okay, you feel that alcohol, you feel it. You feel it in you. You feel it. You feel the impact inside of you. It's a tangible feeling of that buzz, or you say, or that feeling of that alcohol being in your system. You feel it. It's a real feeling. See, the presence of God, and I'm not liking it unto wine, but I am liking his presence into a tangible reality, a tangible feeling that can satisfy you so much that you will pursue him. See, an alcoholic is an alcoholic because when they have that alcohol in their system, they like that feeling, and what do? They chase it. A drug addict, what makes a drug addict a drug addict? They get that drug in their system, they like that feeling, and what do? They chase it, right? See, the presence of God is a tangible reality that you can feel indwell you. That his presence, that presence of love, joy, peace, it is a real, tangible feeling of his reality, of his relationship with you. It's tangible. It's tangible where you can feel that, you can feel it. He talked about you don't put new wine into old wineskins. Remember when Jesus said that? Lest when you put the new wine in, it'll burst because the wineskins are tainted. But you put new wine into new wineskins so that it can contain the wine. See, we have to understand that we were designed to carry his presence within us. We are those wine skins. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. We were created to contain his tangible presence, his tangible reality, his love, his peace, his joy, that supernatural power of his reality, that light that was not only supposed to shine outwardly, that light that is supposed to shine inwardly of his reality. We were created to hold his presence. But when sin came, that supernatural holy wine that comes from heaven, his presence, when sin came, what did the wine do? That old wineskin, because of our old wineskin, the decay of sin and death, the wine had to leak out. It leaked out. He left. So now the state of humanity is void, and now we are empty, not knowing the reality of God through Christ. So this void atmosphere that exists today, where people are in that void, where like I say, the atmosphere is void. There's no, you don't feel his presence. You don't feel his reality. And this is why so many things, so many corrupted things happen. Now let's look at what takes place. When they sinned, and Adam and Eve sinned, they then, being that the presence of God that was dwelling within them, that caused them to only see God, where they were infused with his presence. When his presence left, they then were able to see themselves. They are now void of life and the light of God, and now they see themselves. And we understand what takes place after that. They had Cain and Abel, and what did Cain do to his brother? He slew his brother. Why? Because he was jealous. Why was he jealous? Because he didn't feel, he looked at his brother as superior because God had received his brother's sacrifice and not Cain's. And Cain looked at himself as being low and looked at his brother as being greater. And the pride that he had because of self pride, the pride of life, caused him to kill his brother. Why? Because he's in that void atmosphere. The void atmosphere. See, God was even still dealing with them because, see, at that time, though God was not within them inwardly, he still was dealing with them outwardly. You see that? He was but dealing with them outwardly still didn't. See, the problem was God dwelling inside of them. Because, see, now they are void, but God is still trying to correct them, still trying to teach them. And he sends prophets, he sends all kinds of things to bring them back to their original state. And ultimately, we know who he sent. It was Christ to bring us back into fellowship with the Father, to bring us back to us being one with him, where we can now be born again and indwell his presence inside of our souls and know him in reality and be satisfied and won't be tossed to and fro with every wind and doctrine, because you know that he is a reality because of his presence that dwells in you. The world today, the place where Satan dwells and his demons dwell, is a place that is void and empty. Notice when Jesus talked about when a demon is cast out of a man, he what does he do? He dwells into dry places, seeking rest. He dwells into those places seeking rest and findeth none. But he comes back to that place, back to his house, and he sees it empty, garnished, empty and garnished. And he comes back in that place because he's attracted to a dwelling place that is empty and garnished at the same time. Think about that. Now think about empty and garnished. Empty and garnished. What is it about that state that demons favor and they love being in that place? I'll tell you why. Empty. You're empty of the reality of God. But not only empty, you garnish. You got all of these other. See, when you garnish something like you garnish, that means you decorate it. It's decorated like a house. You garnish it with pictures and garnish it with, you got flowers and you got furniture, See, they want you to live in a world where you're empty, void of the reality of God. But at the same time, you have all these false gods in your life, all these things, all these garnishing things of why you are here. They want you to worship TV. They want you to worship a human being as it relates to a person. You know, they want you to worship your kids. They want you to worship your wife. They want you to worship your husband. They want you to worship your job. They want you to worship the celebrity. They don't want you to work. They want you to have all of these garnishings of why you exist. But at the same time, they don't mind it. You having, being, you have all these idols in your life of why you exist and the things that you chase after, as long as you are void of the presence of God. See, when you're void of his presence, see, this atmosphere, y'all, this normal, natural atmosphere is void. It's empty. It's empty. You don't feel nothing. You don't feel nothing. It's just it's empty of nothing. And so life then only becomes what that person ingests through education, through history, through people, through what they see, what they believe. And this is all of these things that they ingest in their mind then becomes what they pursue or what direction they go into in life. These are all the garnishing things that the enemy tries to get you to set up in the world. Live life for that. Live life for this. Live life for education. Live life to get a good job. Live life so you can have a great family. Live life so that you can have a career. Live life so you can be the most attractive. Live life so you can just have the most fun. Not understanding life was given so that we can be an expression of our Creator by his presence that dwells in us. This empty atmosphere, void. So you come in the world empty, void, and this is why people go into different directions. Because they're unknown. It's unknown. So then people begin to live life of what? Of self-pride. Self-pride. And I've been watching these documentaries of these leaders that came into the world, and they killed masses of people from what's the guy name? Just different, leaders that did a lot of treacherous things. And they all did it for their nation or their nationality. They felt that they were the dominant people. They were the dominant race, and they wanted to subdue, and they wanted to overpower and run everything because they felt that they were the best. And then you have this other country over here that felt that they were the best, and they had all the same mentality, and it all boiled down to what? Pride of self. It's all about me. I live life based upon who I see, and I see me. And they killed masses of people, and to the point where they were so blinded with rage and murder from the Hitlers, from these Stalin, just all of these individuals, and it all was because they felt that they were the best. Why? Void. Empty. And they believe that life is only about what gives me self-pride, the pride of life, what makes me feel good. And I only connect with people that either look like me, think like me, feel like me. And that's what they embraced. Void. And I see it so much. I see how this void atmosphere, how people come to all of these demonic conclusions of life is about, life is about self-pride and self-love, and life is about self-pleasure, and life is about, just happiness, self-happiness, not understanding that's all self. That is all the state of what Adam was in when they bit the forbidden fruit and they hid themselves, for they saw themselves naked. They saw themselves. God didn't want you to see you. He wanted you to see him. He wanted you to see what? The light. Notice in creation, God didn't even acknowledge existence in the place where it was void and darkness. He didn't even acknowledge that as being a day. He only acknowledged life as the first day when light was shining. See, your existence only starts when the light of Christ comes inside of you and he shines the light of God in you, and you see the reality of your Creator in a tangible way. That's when life starts. This is why the Bible says that the beginning of knowledge is the what? Fear of the Lord. In other words, you can have all kind of worldly knowledge and worldly information. You can be a PhD, a MD, all kind of, alphabets before your name. But if you don't have God in you, if Jesus Christ isn't revealing to you who he is, you haven't even come to the beginning of knowledge. This is why Paul said, I count everything that I learned as dung. To know Christ. Everything that I knew in the world wasn't even nothing compared to me knowing who Jesus is and the fellowship of his suffering, knowing him in truth, by his presence. He understood that his presence permeates you in a higher degree through affliction. See, I'm going to tell you something. That was the key, Paul. Paul had come into a place of understanding. He talked about the thorn in his flesh. He said, I'll glory in my infirmities. So what? So that the power of Christ can rest upon me. He understood that tangible presence was what life was about. Knowing Christ in reality. Truth being experienced. Truth being tangible inside of you with that assurance. These people in the Old Testament was willing. They died in faith. They died and wasn't even fearing death because why? They had that blessed assurance the tangible presence of God. They could be in the fiery furnace, but you know what? I know that God is with me. I can be in the lion's den, but I know that God is with me. I can go through many trials and tests, but I know that God is with me because of his tangible presence. I'm not void. I'm filled with his reality. Man, when the atmosphere is void in this normal, in this world, it's an empty atmosphere, man. It's back at the same state of existence before the first day. Before the first day of creation, God didn't even acknowledge that day. But there was existence of the earth and there was darkness, but he didn't even acknowledge that as being a day. He only acknowledged creation as being a day, as when what light was revealed by his word. He spoke light into existence. He says it was good. He then says that is the first day. But that void state that it was in before the first day, he didn't even acknowledge that as the first day. But that void state is where we are today, where the world is, in that void, empty state. And that state is where Satan wants people to stay in. Because you can be garnished with Satan, he's okay with you just garnishing your life with all kind of philosophies. Okay, yeah, live life for politics. Yeah, live life for your job. Yeah, live life to get, the nice looking woman. Yeah, live life to just have a great family. Yeah, just live. Yeah, you can live life to have to fight wars and fight against this nation and fight against that nation. Yeah, live life to have pride in your race. Yeah, live life to have pride in the people that look like you and have your same skin tone and complexion. Yeah, live like, see, that's where the devil want people to stay. What? Void and garnished with all of these aspects of purpose in life. As long as they are void, they walk blinded and can't see why they here. And what happens when the blind leads the blind? They both fall into a ditch. Yeah, that's what that's what he knows that you blind. And guess what's going to happen? That blindness, yeah, you living life for all of these things that you think life is about. You don't know that you in a place of voidness. And guess where he's going to draw you? To a deep pit. Not just a ditch. I'm talking about a pit, of the pit of hell. That's where he's trying to lead the blind. But Jesus came. It's interesting. He said that he came into his own, and his own didn't even receive him. He came into the very people he created, and they couldn't even perceive him. The Bible talks about this in John. But he said, but to them that received him, gave he them power to become the sons of God. He gave them what? His presence. To be the sons of God, to know God. Not just by thought, but by his tangible and filling of his spirit. That blessed assurance that you know him and he knows you. I've been watching these documentaries and I was just thinking, like, man, these people, like, how do they come to, these people that, fought these wars and killed millions and millions of people, all because of the same factors that people deal with on a day-to-day basis on different levels. Where it's like I was looking at the Holocaust, and I was looking like the Hitler. I was like, what the demon had him so possessed. How could he come to that conclusion? And then, the Lord was showing me, well, it's that demon is still here, and it's operating in society all the time. Today, you look at Hitler, he had what? Self-pride in who? His people. That's the people around him. He felt that the Jewish people, he felt as if they were tainting, the strength of Germany. Because, how the Jews, he felt that they were weak. And he wanted to create this superior race that was strong and dominant. What is that? Pride. Pride. And because he had self-pride, it caused him to murder. Not just him. He had a whole nation of people that were fully possessed by these demons to kill off millions of innocent people without a flinch. Pride. Seeing self. I exist because the only person I see my nakedness. I see me. I exist by what looks like me. I see me. And this is what I connect existence to. The pride of life. See, you got people living life because, we are, the people, we are, we got to have pride in self. We got to have pride in our culture. We got to have pride in our race. We got to have pride in, what is that? Void. You have no clue. You were created by the awesome hand of God. Your purpose of creation was to know him, to see him. But when you are void of your creator, you then only live life based upon you seeing self. Pride of life. Lust of the eye. Lust of the flesh. Pride of life, man. And you look at all these wars, man, these people coming into these places and dominating these different nations and killing them off for power. Why? For their belief system, for their culture, for what they believe. What is it? Pride of what? Self. Our belief. We're going to come and dominate you so that we can, move our territory and move our belief system and get you to be like us. And you see it on the day-to-day basis, even now in society. People don't like connecting with people that don't look like them. People don't like being around people that they don't feel they can relate to. If you don't look like me, I can't, we ain't, that's a spirit. That's the same thing that self-pride. You feeling as if you're either better than, or you can't, you feel like you're better than somebody else. That's self-pride. When God is the creator of all. And we have a God that we see in creation. He is what? He is diverse in his creation. He created zebras. He created rats. He created roaches. He created a roach, but he created a rose. He created a rose, but he created, a cow. He created a cow, but then he created an eagle. He created an eagle, and then he created a squirrel. He created a tree, and then he created a shark. He created a shark, and then he created a whale. He is a creator. His expansion in creation is vast. And we can't just, feel as if, okay, well, I'm only, I can only get with this, or I can only get with that. No. God is a creator. And this is why he wants you to know him in truth. So you can't see self, but you can see him as he continues to reveal himself through you, so that you can see and you can't be deceived. Deceived by the void, the emptiness, the wars, the suicides, the drug addictions, the racism, the hatred, all comes from the void. The void that he didn't even acknowledge in creation as being a day. The void that was empty, that he didn't even acknowledge, because he knew that void and that darkness would bring what we see today in this fallen world: the murder, depression, the hatred, the anger, being lost, being in a world that is full of God's expression of his existence, but you not even being able to see it. And that's an interesting thing to me in John, when the Bible says Jesus, he came to his own, and his own received him not, and that he came into the world. Let's go there. Let's go to John chapter 1. John chapter 1. Watch what it says. John chapter 1 verse 9. Verse 10. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. Why? The void. You see what I'm saying, y'all? That void, the state of existence of how it was in Genesis. See, that void was not good, because God only called good was when that first day, when light was created and divided the day from the night. And he saw the light, that it was good. See, that void is not good. That void is why we have wars. That void is why you got death and sin and all this treachery. God saw all of that. Everything that we see that came by darkness, that came by the void, that came by Satan, God knew that in the beginning. This is why he tells us to walk in the light, to be filled with the Spirit, so that we are not void, empty. Man, it's just a lot more I can say on this, but I'm gonna go and end it with this. But y'all keep fighting the good fight of faith. God bless. Peace.